Hi everyone, welcome. What you see here is my VermiBag Tote, and it's running my mixed population of worms here, the red worm mix. And it's 210 days of age at this point. 10 days ago when it was 200, we gave it a little bit of a special feeding. We laid out some worm chow, and we shaped the application of the worm chow to show like if it's the number's 200 for 200. And today their feeding is going to consist of more of the same. Some more worm chow, and it's probably going to be their last feeding at this point. So I'm going to get the system up on the bench, and we're going to get to work. Alright, so down here in the bin, under the plastic, is a piece of cardboard onto which I attempted to write the word 200, number 200. I think it's oriented in the way that it would be facing you to be able to read it right side up. So let's see how it turned out. Yikes. I did peek in here on day 3, I think it was. Because my, I guess curiosity got the best of me. Look at these big piles of castings out here. And sometimes I wonder, am I actually looking at piles of castings, or am I simply looking through a section of the cardboard that's been eaten away? Yeah, because you know, you start peeling aside castings, you don't get to cardboard. I got a feeling there really is no cardboard. Oh, maybe over here there is. Definitely got some deterioration. So I guess the last time I did something like this, I don't know, did I disturb it too much? Can we see the 200? I think we can, sort of, right? Not bad. But I got a feeling that trying to flip this piece of cardboard upside down might be, I don't know, it might be tricky. Man, there's still a lot of springtails in the system. I shot some footage last week where the camera just ran for a while, and it wasn't so much to look at the worms in the system, it was to look at the creatures inhabiting the top surface of the system. I think we categorized them as mites last time, but I have a feeling they were actually just lots of springtails, but very, very itsy bitsy ones. Just from the, I guess from their appearance and maybe just from their general speed. But you know what? Before we proceed, one thing I'd like to do first, even though I don't really see a chronic situation going on here, I mean, I see little insects here and there, but like I said last time, the footage did show almost as if the entire surface of the material was creeping with stuff. And here too, you could definitely see good numbers of springtails. So, you know, the same way that this stuff was meant to, this is the mosquito dunks solution, BTI by the way. Same way this stuff was meant to try to reduce the number of gnats and fruit flies that I was contending with. I think it's also going to maybe help reduce the numbers of other little creatures in here. Not to say that it's a problem having the springtails and stuff like that, but I do expect that a part of the result is going to be not only a reduction of the fruit flies and gnats, but also possibly fewer mites, fewer springtails, stuff like that. So it's obviously no mosquitoes, since we're we're putting mosquito dunks product in here, but the, you know, that's just its marketing name, and it does affect other types of insect larvae too. So before messing with anything, I've been making it a habit to try to get this stuff in first, and it does certainly seems like it's working. And I guess I came in here thinking it was going to consist of not much more than us flipping the cardboard over. Last time I did this, I was able to actually pick up that entire piece of cardboard onto which the worm chow had been placed, flip it over as a whole, and it did hold together during the process of being flipped. And then onto the back side of it, which was at that point, you know, facing the upside, we applied another layer of worm chow onto the remaining cardboard. It does almost seem like the cardboard where there was no chow is what got consumed the most. The middle of the O's over here, it seems like we've got pretty much gone right through the cardboard, right? Under the zeros. And then here too, I guess just around the general shape of the 2, they did away with almost all of it. Out on the very perimeter here, I guess there's a little bit of leftover cardboard too. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to flip it over as a nice, neat, rectangular shaped piece of single cardboard. But I think maybe if we're careful, maybe we can kind of flip it over piece by piece. I guess it was kind of just two larger pieces. I think with the number 2 stuck on here, the middle 0 got a little beaten up, and then the other number 0 kind of held together too. And it does seem like the worm chow maybe piled on too thick is what ended up actually reducing the amount of cardboard that got broken down as a result. So it does seem like putting it down too much ends up actually working against you. It almost seems like the cardboard that was simply near the worm chow is what got the greatest amount of attention. No? I don't know. It's interesting. So I guess we could just proceed straight to the application of the worm chow, but I guess that wouldn't really be me, would it? It wouldn't be us satisfying our curiosity of how other things in the system are proceeding. So we'll save that application of chow at the end for last. We'll indulge our curiosity a little bit and see how things are doing. And I think just in general, look at all those springtails. Holy cow. They really do make themselves at home throughout the material, don't they? It's interesting. I just wonder why it seems like it's only in this system that I see it. I don't really think I see springtails anywhere else. At least, I mean, I see them, but not in this sort of numbers, you know? It's interesting. It almost does make me feel like bringing my spray bottle back in to maybe just a little shot to mix in and on them, now that we've sort of tilled it up. So these springtails are clearly not limited to the top surface of the container or the material. They're just pretty much everywhere within it. So I think for the fruit flies, I've been pretty much just using the top surface of the material as like where I believe that they're leaving their eggs and rearing their babies. But with the springtails here, again, I'm not so much after the springtails, but I figured let's see if that, possibly reduces their numbers a little bit if we just put a little hint of it here and there into each of these tilled up spots. I guess we're getting a pretty good view into how many worms are in here, and there's a good number of them everywhere. I think that's what we kind of noticed last time. And we even did kind of stir the entire contents of the system up pretty thoroughly last time before putting that cardboard and worm chow down. So everything got blended in pretty nicely. I just take something like this right out, it's like a little plum pit or something. It's not going anywhere. Otherwise, the rest of the material is really nice. I see little sticks and stems, other things that, very unlikely to go anywhere at this point. If it's still a stick at this stage, I think it's just going to end up needing to get caught in a screen at some point when we go ahead and we try to distill this stuff down to just castings only. And in order for it to screen easily, it would probably need to be a little bit drier than this. I think the other thing that would benefit from a little drying is the rate at which we can possibly convince these wormies to move out of this material too at some point in the near future. I don't know, I'm just always formulating these little theories just based on my observations, and it always does seem like I set up my feeding zones for these migrations in a pretty consistent fashion. They're kind of cookie cutter, and I don't always get the same results, and it seems like the one thing that does seem to influence the speed at which a migration tends to reach the end, and what I'm left with is pretty much, or at least what appears to be, a batch of completely depopulated castings, is when I begin the process with castings that are just a little bit drier. And then it seems like we've got ourselves some worms that are pretty motivated to go seek out some slightly more damp conditions somewhere. And we satisfy that craving that they start to develop by making the feeding zone and the collection area nice and damp. And besides being damp, it's also loaded with fresh bedding, which is also something that these little guys will not have much of in a short period of time. I mean, that cardboard, all that's obviously bedding. But once that's gone, that's the only game in town, and they're going to be without any fresh bedding. And they'll be on the lookout for that too. So I think that's also another big time motivator. If they kind of wind up there, gravitate towards it based on their sense of moisture being there, but then end up staying because they arrive at a section of the container that's now, you know, providing them with an abundant amount of bedding to hang out in and to nibble on, and chances are they'll stay there. And then we can grab their castings after they moved out. Alright, so I guess besides a big pile of scattered bedding, the material is pretty much full of bits of leftover bedding. Here's another similar seed, which I am removing. Yeah, those are like little plum pits, little suckers, but they're just as bad as like a, not as bad, but you know, I think they'll probably take just as long as like a peach pit or something similar, cherry pit. So I try to get in the habit of pulling them out. And man, this material is so nice. Yeah, I don't mind the springtails, but still, there's definitely more of them here than I'm used to seeing. And I believe it's probably got something to do with just the, what appears to be maybe a little bit more moisture in here than what's needed. So now the underside, you'll remember those pieces of cardboard that still had parts of the old numbers on it are the ones that are really stiff like that. So there's a good amount, like a big amount of worm chow still underneath this cardboard. But I got a feeling by kind of turning it around this way now, it's going to, I don't know, I think to me somehow it seems like this cardboard's going to be a goner. Because now it's going to have worm chow on one side and on the other side. And I guess besides that, it's like a nice one-stop shopping place where there's an abundant amount of not only bedding but food too. So I don't think we need to go too crazy with the application of this stuff. I don't want to get it so encrusted that it's going to not get consumed. I'd really rather just have it as almost like a dusting at this point, kind of just to entice them up onto the upper levels of the stuff and get them working it all the way around. So anything thicker than that I think might just end up looking a lot like the way we found it. So I'd like to really see this stuff all get nibbled down, and then at some point after that's all gone, they'll really have to turn their attentions to the rest of the material and start picking off all the little scraps of leftovers in the castings, because that'll be their foraging period. We've hinted at removing this plastic at some point in the near future, and I'll probably do so at the next check-in, but for now I'd really like to see a good amount of worm activity on the surface to whittle down what's left of that pile over there. So I'd like to use the plastic to try to accomplish that, because it'll create a nice high humidity zone down here in the middle where the cardboard and worm chow are. But if we put the plastic covering in such a way that it begins allowing for some ventilation around the food and bedding that we want them to turn their attention to, then maybe at the same time we can also permit some of this material on the outer edges to begin drying. And I think that'll get us one step closer to the point where we're going to have a nice foraging session in here. So I don't know, I guess we'll check back in here in a few days, see how this thing's coming along. But that's it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. If you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. And I've also got that little join button. You could become a sponsor of the channel if you want to join for even a little tiny amount, a couple bucks a month. You'd be one of my first. I don't have many, but the option is out there to join. So, all right, everyone, I got a couple things to take care of, put away, clean up. So I'm out of here. Take care. Bye now.